The predator that ruled 1,000 worlds stopped at the smell of human cooking. The Void Stalker had conquered civilizations that spanned solar systems. Its chitinous bulk had crushed the crystal spires of Zirion Prime, devoured the floating cities of the Alteran Collective, and left the mechanical remains of the Synthetic Republic scattered across 3 star systems. For 700 years it had carved a path of destruction through the galaxy, earning whispers and legends that transcended species barriers. Commander Elena Vasquez watched the tactical display with grim determination as her small survey ship, the Magellan, drifted through the debris field that had once been the thriving trade hub of New Kepler. Twisted metal and organic matter floated in the void like a grotesque constellation, testament to the creature's latest rampage. Biosignatures indicated still in the system, reported Lieutenant Chen from the sensor station. Massive energy readings coming from the 4th planet. Elena nodded, her weathered face betraying none of the fear that gnawed at her stomach. The Magellan was a research vessel, not a warship. Its crew of 12 humans had been studying xenoarchaeological sites when the distress beacon from New Kepler had reached them. They were the only human ship within 3 parsecs. Everyone else had fled when word of the Void Stalker's approach spread. "Ma'am," called Sergeant Rodriguez from the galley intercom. "Dinner's ready. Should I hold it?" Elena almost smiled despite the circumstances. Rodriguez, their Marine detachment leader, had insisted on preparing one of his grandmother's recipes, something about maintaining morale in the face of certain death. She could smell it now, garlic, cumin, and chili peppers wafting through the ship's recycling systems. "Go ahead, Rodriguez. If we're going to die, might as well do it on a full stomach." The Void Stalker emerged from the planet's shadow like a nightmare given form. 3 kilometers of segmented carapace gleamed dully in the system's dying star. Hundreds of sensor organs tracked their approach, while massive claws that had torn apart dreadnoughts flexed in anticipation. The creature's psychic emanations washed over them, a symphony of hunger, rage, and predatory satisfaction that had driven lesser species insane. But then something unexpected happened. The creature stopped. Elena watched in bewilderment as the galaxy's most feared predator hung motionless in space, its sensor organs twitching erratically. The psychic emanations changed. Confusion replaced hunger. Curiosity overcame rage. It's not attacking," whispered Dr. Patel from Xenobiology. "The pheromone readings are completely different. It's almost like..." The ship shuddered as something massive gently bumped against the hull. Through the viewport, Elena saw one of the creature's smaller appendages, still the size of a shuttle, pressing against the Magellan's exterior with surprising delicacy. The communications array crackled to life, not with words but with complex chemical signals that the ship's computer struggled to translate. After several minutes, a crude approximation appeared on Elena's screen. "What is that? Scent?" Elena blinked. In 7 centuries of rampage, no one had ever reported the Void Stalker communicating with its prey. She activated the response system, knowing it was probably futile. "We're preparing food. A meal." The response came faster this time. "Food, not flesh, not fear." Dr. Patel leaned over Elena's shoulder. "Commander, I think it's never encountered prepared food before. Every species it's attacked has been either energy-based, synthetic, or carnivorous. They either fed on pure energy, manufactured nutrients, or consumed raw flesh." Elena felt a wild idea forming. "Rodriguez, bring a sample of your cooking to the airlock. Small container." "Ma'am?" Rodriguez's voice carried clear skepticism. "Do it. That's an order." 10 minutes later, Rodriguez appeared with a sealed container of his abuela's pozole, a rich Mexican soup with hominy, pork, and a complex blend of chilies. Elena had eaten it countless times during their long survey missions, but now she found herself hoping it might be humanity's salvation. The creature's appendage withdrew as Elena activated the airlock's emergency release, sending the container floating toward the Void Stalker. Another, larger appendage caught it with impossible gentleness. The psychic emanations stopped entirely. For 30 minutes, The Magellan and its crew waited in absolute silence. Elena could hear her own heartbeat, the soft hum of life support, Rodriguez's nervous breathing over the intercom. The Void Stalker remained perfectly still, its attention focused entirely on the small container. When the psychic communication resumed, it carried an entirely different emotional signature, something Elena's mind interpreted as wonder, complex, many flavors, heat, but not burning. How? It's called cooking, Elena replied, hardly believing she was having a culinary discussion with a galactic terror. We combine different ingredients, apply heat in controlled ways, add spices. Spices? Dr. Patel was frantically taking notes. Commander, I don't think it's ever experienced flavor complexity before. Its feeding has been purely nutritional, just consuming biomass for energy. Over the next hour, Elena found herself explaining human cuisine to the most feared predator in the galaxy. She described how they grew plants not just for sustenance but for flavor, how they combined ingredients to create new tastes, how cooking was both art and science. The Void Stalker's responses grew increasingly sophisticated as its translation matrices adapted. It spoke of countless worlds where it had fed on fear and flesh, never understanding why some species seemed to enjoy their food rather than simply consume it for survival. Would you? Elena paused, still unable to believe what she was about to suggest. Would you like Rodriguez to prepare something fresh? The creature's equivalent of excitement nearly overwhelmed their psychic shields. 3 hours later, Rodriguez had somehow managed to prepare a feast using the ship's limited supplies. The Void Stalker had positioned itself to share the meal through a hastily constructed containment field that allowed it to experience the flavors without contaminating either party. As the creature experienced its first taste of chocolate, a carefully rationed emergency supply, its psychic emanations conveyed something Elena had never expected to feel from such a being. Joy. I understand. Now came the final message as the Void Stalker prepared to depart. Survival is not living. I will learn to cook. Elena watched as the galaxy's most feared predator disappeared into hyperspace, carrying recipes and spice samples that Rodriguez had somehow convinced her to part with. She knew that somewhere among the stars, the Void Stalker was beginning a very different kind of conquest, one that involved asking species about their culinary traditions rather than simply devouring them. The Magellan resumed its survey mission, but Elena knew their real discovery wasn't in ancient ruins or distant stars. They had learned that sometimes the most powerful weapon in the universe wasn't technology or brute force. Sometimes it was simply showing someone what they'd been missing.